Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Lemon Live at 5. Oh, yes, there we go. So here we Lemon Live. There we go. I hope you guys are enjoying your evening. It's Tuesday. Feels like a Friday, or it should be Friday. Look, don't you wish like you could just do that all day? Look at him. Just chilling. He's like, I have double income, meaning two dads, nice place to live. He gets 3 squares a day or 2 square. I mean, just chilling out back there. That's the life that I want. Anyways, welcome to Lemon Live at 5. We have a lot to talk about. By the way, I want to tell you guys this, just warn you. The reason that we are just a little bit late, we were ready to start on time. Am I right, producers? Tell the truth. Ready to start on time.
Yeah,
we were good. We were good. We were all good today.
And then the interwebs, like, what happened? Just kept going out. I think something's going on. Like, it's been happening a lot lately. So anyway, we were ready to go, and then the internet would go out, and then we were ready to go, and then it would go out again. So welcome to Lemon Live at 5. Hey, make sure you guys, our producers, put it in the top of the chat. Pin it to the top. Did you do the thumbs up? Thumbs up, like, and subscribe, because it affects the algorithm. More people become aware. Yeah, I mean, Boomer is chilling like a villain back there. And you know what? Hey, more power to him. I can't blame him. Good for him. Good for him. We'll see what happens, especially it's a little bit warm in here. I may have to turn on the air because usually when it gets this warm, the camera no likey, and it may cut out on us. So like and subscribe. Where are you? Let me know. You know I love it. I like to shout you out wherever you are. Call your friends. Call everybody from New Jersey. We had someone in this morning from Warsaw, remember? I mean, like all kinds of places. Boomer is right, is chilling. Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Okay, so let's talk about what's going on. Because, hi, Seattle. Hello, New York. In New York. Hello, Charlotte. Hello, Quebec. Wow, Wales. I saw Wales on the way down. Wales, Kissimmee. Kissimmee, is that Kissimmee, St. Cloud? Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and St. Louis, Missouri. Everybody, everywhere. Tysons, Virginia. Nikki, you better come see us in Tysons, Virginia. We're there, I think, on the 18th of April. So let us know if you're going to come see us. Nikki Safari. Okay, so let's talk about what's going on in the world, because there's a lot of blame to go around about the war and a lot of opinions, not many facts coming from the administration. Caroline Leavitt, sorry to do that to you, who's the White House press secretary, meaning sorry to do that to you, the folks who are watching, was sent out to clean up Donald Trump's messaging about the war with Iran earlier, particularly the president's repeated claim that the United States was not responsible for a strike on an Iranian school.
Uh-oh, we're having some internet issues, as we talked about earlier.
Stand by, Lemon Nation. We'll get Don back for you.
All right, so I'm back. Did you lose me?
We did.
Producers, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
You lost me for a little bit. Yeah, it's crazy. I told you guys. So I'm talking about the one done with a Tomahawk missile that killed hundreds of children. I think it was like 185 at this point, and that could go higher. And no one has a Tomahawk missile. Israel doesn't have one. Iran doesn't have one. I'm not sure anyone in the region, and why would they do that? But they're blaming Iran. So that claim has become so controversial that even Fox News host Laura Ingraham has been pleading with the administration to get out in front of the story, despite that major pushback from people within his own party. Now, here is how Leavitt defended the president. Leavitt.
Why did President Trump say yesterday that Iran may have Tomahawk missiles when there are only 3 other U.S. allies plus the U.S. that have those missiles and therefore could...
Look, again, as the president said yesterday, he will accept the conclusion of this investigation by the Department of War. I know there's been a lot of speculation in the media about who may be responsible for this. We're not going to get ahead of the Department of War and the conclusion of that investigation. The president has a right to share his opinions with the American public, but he has said he'll accept the conclusion of that investigation. And frankly, we're not going to be harassed by the New York Times, who's been putting out a lot of articles on this, making claims that have just not been verified by the Department of War, to quickly wrap up this investigation because the New York Times is calling on us to do so.
Okay, did you hear her? Claims that have not been verified by the Department of War. What is she talking about? These people are crazy. The Department of War doesn't have to verify the reporting. That's not how this works. You can't report that because we haven't verified it. That in a nutshell is what is happening in this country right now. That is in a nutshell is what is going on. The horrible just mistreatment and trashing of the U.S. Constitution of the First Amendment. Because the U.S. Department of War, first of all, these people are so fucking stupid and just crazy. I mean, think about, first of all, it's the Department of Defense. And the fact that you have named it the Department of War when you claim to be the peacetime president, it's all bullshit. Because what peacetime president would name something the Department of War? If you're not interested in going to war, if you're a peaceful person, it should be the Department of Peace. If you're a peacetime president, and then if you have an understanding, I'm looking for my pocket constitution, is somewhere around here. If you have an understanding of the Constitution, you know that no one has to verify anything. That no one has to verify anything if there are sources that are saying it. Now, look, yes, you do have to verify. It's nice to get a response from someone. And if it turns out that the New York Times is actually printing something that is not true, then I'm sure, 100% sure, that the New York Times would apologize and they would do a correction. And they would say, we screwed up, or previous reporting said this and it turned out to be this. So you're right. She thinks an opinion is valid where she says the president had a feeling based on fact. Now, which one is worse? You remember the first administration. Which one is worse? Is it alternative facts that's worse, or is it a feeling based on a fact? Which one is worse? Because one maybe, it's not, no, none of them, neither one makes sense. It's just outrageous. Can you just play that part again where she talks about the New York Times? They're always attacking the people who are bringing the actual facts in the news. They can't stand it. Please play it for me.
The president has a right to share his opinions with the American public, but he has said he'll accept the conclusion of that investigation. And frankly, we're not going to be harassed by the New York Times, who's been putting out a lot of articles on this, making claims that have just not been verified by the Department of War, to quickly wrap up this investigation because the New York Times is calling on us to do so.
We have another Frozen Dawn situation on our hands. I'm going to play the next clip we have planned for everybody until Dawn gets back. This is Fox News calling out Trump's lies.
One of the questions, Jen, in that news conference was about the strike on the girls' school that's next to a base in Iran, and it was a Tomahawk missile. The president saying Tomahawks are used by other countries, but an investigation is ongoing. What do we know about where that stands?
Well, that was a bit surprising to me because basically the U.S. has Tomahawks. Tomahawks have to be fired from either submarines or from warships. The Brits and the Australians have Tomahawks, but they're not part of this conflict. And then you also have the Japanese who are in a testing phase. So it seems highly unlikely that it would be anyone's Tomahawk other than a U.S. Tomahawk that hit that school. And I think the president knows that. He just knows that this is certainly a mistake, a big mistake, and it's being investigated, but he's trying to sort of muddy the waters by talking about the Tomahawks.
Yeah,
it's not just muddying the waters, he's lying. What did I miss, producers? Did you just play the soundbite, or did you guys talk about it? Yeah.
Correct. We just went straight into the soundbite.
Yeah. So, but again, I just want to reiterate what we're seeing here. Not even Pete Hegseth is willing to go along with the president's lie that Iran was to blame for the school strike. And he was on Air Force One, and the president said, "I think it's Iran." And then Pete Hegseth said, "Well, that's what's under investigation." And as you have seen from Fox News, even they are saying the president knows has a very big problem on his hands, and that is supposedly Fox News is sort of straight shooters, right? Not the opinion folks. They're like, no chance that it was struck down by anyone. And Donald Trump is just hamina dancing, or doing the Pete Hegseth where he just does this kind of thing. And I'm a rapper. I'm a rapping Secretary of the Defense or War, and that's what I do. Hoo. That's what he does. And then on top of that, there is the price of oil, which is already skyrocketed. It's skyrocketing now, and it's about to get a whole lot worse. Nearly 20% of the world's oil supply normally moves through the Strait of Hormuz. Probably you never even think about the Strait of Hormuz. It is a narrow waterway between Iran and Oman. The White House has been saber-rattling, telling Iran, don't you dare mess with the flow of oil. Okay. But people don't want to go through because they're afraid that they're going to get shot.
Andy, I think we might have another Don situation.
Yeah. So let's see. Don't have any long clips we can play. This is the next element we had planned. This full screen from CNN. They're saying that Iran has begun laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz in response to what Trump and Hegseth have been saying. Caroline Leavitt spoke about the Strait of Hormuz in that same presser.
As the president made unequivocally clear to the remaining elements of this terrorist regime in his statement yesterday, if they do anything to stop the flow of oil or goods within the Strait of Hormuz, they will be hit by the world's most powerful military 20 times harder than they have been hit thus far.
Okay. We told you. I'm not. I'm many things, but I'm not a liar. I always tell the truth. I never lie. It's easier just to tell the truth, even when you're wrong, right? And so I've been telling you guys we're late because of this. Blah 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 blah. We're actually having issues when it comes to the internet. So I was telling you what the Strait of Hormuz was, and so they're afraid of getting hit by some sort of rocket attack or fire or whatever it is. Iran begins laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz, sources say. So this is what, I don't know if they should have expected this. Well, they should have expected this. I shouldn't say I don't know. When they were planning this ill-fated mission, they should have thought about it. Iran is now laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz. And Caroline Leavitt threatened Iran before that news went public. And she is threatening now, you saw in the thing, a major retaliation against Iran if they do anything or stop oil in Hormuz. And then President Donald Trump posted on his Truth Social, and he said, we have hit and completely destroyed 10 inactive mine-laying boats and or ships, with more to follow. So, and then he said, what was it? We don't have we just like shooting down the ships. That was from yesterday. If you find it, Andy, but we just like sinking them. rather than end the war, come to some sort of peaceful resolution. He says, we just like sinking them. If you're ready for things to get a lot worse, a lot more intense, then you're right, because they are going to get a lot more intense. That's just what's going to happen. The soundbite that you played, guys, was this the one about the soldiers or no? We haven't played that yet, right?
No, I played the Levitt Strait of Hormuz clip.
Okay. Well, I want to play the one about the soldiers because we talked about the schoolgirls. We had that. And them lying about it. Donald Trump, no, bold-faced lie, but he lies so easily. He's a better liar than...
Well, Don is frozen again, but luckily we have backup this time. Hopefully he is ready to go. Jolly is here. How you doing, Jolly?
Good. How are you? I forgot to go to landscape. Sorry.
Oh, no worries.
Yes.
But Don's having some internet problems.
Hello there. I'm having crazy internet problems. I'm having crazy internet problems. Hello, Jolly Good Ginger. How are you? You may have to take over a little bit for me because my interwebs keep going out.
You know, Don, I have found that if you pay your cable bill or internet bill, that it gets better. So try that.
I'll try it. I will try that. Jolly is here. Jolly, I appreciate you joining us.
Absolutely.
Of the Jolly Good Ginger Show on YouTube and all over social media, and soon to be, well, he's already our Washington correspondent, but we'll talk about what's to come later. Jolly,
there's some stuff coming.
There's some stuff coming. Jolly, I want to play this and this is Caroline Levitt talking about the number of injured from this war. Here it is.
Mm-hmm.
Reuters has reported that about 150 U.S. service members have been injured so far. Can you confirm that number and elaborate on that?
I can't confirm the exact number. I know it's within that ballpark, but I would defer you to the Pentagon for a specific number of wounded or injured thus far.
So she doesn't know the specific number, and she's the press secretary. It's somewhere in that ballpark. Jolly, this just started, and we already have 7 soldiers who have died, perhaps more. And then they may be putting some boots on the ground, which I think will probably happen unless this gets, I think it's probably going to happen. I shouldn't say unless. And then she's like, somewhere in there. I'm not exactly sure because she doesn't want to talk about it, I believe.
That's correct. Your assessment's correct. The fact is they have a pretty good number. The fact is they know what the number is. And the other fact is, like everything else that they've done since January 20th, 2025, is they lie. This administration lies. And what makes it harder for me, so this is a big topic for me to talk about right now because I got a lot of emotions, a lot of feelings, a lot of thoughts that have been tossing around. Those who follow me on my short form platforms, you may notice I've posted less over the last 3 or 4 days because dealing with this shit is a lot right now. As an Iraq and Afghanistan veteran, I'm watching what's happening in Iran, and it is triggering a lot of things in my brain. Number one, we're sending off our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marine to go die in a senseless war, number one. Number two, this is clearly a war of ego, clearly a war of choice, clearly a war of greed, and nothing more. And this is clearly on behalf of Israel and nothing more. So not only are we sending our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines off to die, it's in a war that is as senseless as it could be. There was a lot of early reports last week, Don. I'm sure you heard about them. I didn't report on them because I could not find anything credible enough. But there was a lot of reports saying that the casualties on the U.S. side were higher than what they were reporting. And I've been following that, hoping to find something credible. And now it would appear that there's some credibility to that statement to the tune of possibly 150 soldiers. I think what people don't think about, and it's okay if you don't think about it, because unless you've been there and done that, it's difficult to have these thoughts sometimes. But what I want you to think about is each 150 of those potentially injured soldiers, sailors, airmen, or Marines are people. These are people with a story to tell. They got a family. They got a life. They had goals, had aspirations. And a lot of them probably joined the military in hopes of advancing their life for some reason, right? I think people think that we just joined the military because we're just patriotic programmed robots. And that would mean you don't understand military recruitment in this country. Military recruitment in this country seeks out those that are the most disenfranchised, that are the most without, those that are the most impoverished. That's who military recruitment seeks out, because it will offer for you things that your country will never offer you: healthcare, college, housing, guaranteed income, life insurance, socialism. All you have to do is sign away your life to go defend capitalism. And if you do that, we got you, and your whole world will be better. So then you go off in pursuit of these dreams you thought you would never have because you grew up in abject poverty, only to find yourself in Israel's war, sit there by a Nepo baby who's never worked a day in his life, into a country that never posed a threat to us, to now be injured. To what extent, we don't know, because they haven't told us the truth. And for the entire rest of your life, carry around the physical and mental injury that will come with that. And I know that I'm on a soapbox, but I got to finish it off with this. Then when you come home, they're going to deny you proper care. They're going to deny you the proper disability rating that you're owed. They're going to deny you the proper long-term sustainability that they promised you when they recruited you out of poverty. You're dispensable to them now. You'll be dispensable to them then, all to fight Israel's war in the name of greedy old white men. This disgusts me. And then to put this absolute embarrassing cherry on top, that the press secretary says, we don't know the number. Shame on you. This does nothing more than highlight the carelessness by which this administration sent our sons, daughters, and non-binary children into combat. The carelessness by which they planned it and the carelessness by which they're executing it. Bring our troops home now and impeach Trump yesterday.
Jolly, you're on a soapbox, but we're glad that you're on a soapbox, because you can speak to this with more authority than most, because you are a war veteran and you served this country. So thank you for your service. When I heard that, I would think, now this is just me, I would think if I was coming out today to give information on a war, I am the mouthpiece for the White House and for the administration. You know what the number one thing that would be the priority that no one would have to ask me a fucking question about it. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. The president and this entire administration, our hearts go out to all the men and women who are in uniform, and especially those who have injured and have lost their lives. These are the number of troops. It would be the first thing. And the reason that it's not, and that they are attacking people who report on it, like the news organizations are pretending that they don't have the information, is because they don't want to discuss it. Last week, correct, with Caitlin over at CNN asked her about it, and she jumped down her throat about something that she should have had an answer for, and then attacked the news organizations, CNN and the New York Times, for reporting on it. Anytime a service member dies, or even sustains a major injury, that is always big news, front page news that we report on in any administration, whether it's Republican or Democrat. Why is it different, Jolly, for these numbskulls?
It's different because, number one, they don't care. Let's talk about Don briefly, because it ties in. Let's talk about this interview that Pete Kegsbreath, Whiskey Leaks Pete, gave just a couple days ago. He was asked a direct question, very direct
60
question.
Minutes you're talking about? The 60
Yes.
Minutes interview, the
Yes.
CBS interview? Okay.
It was 60 Minutes. And the question that was asked very directly of him was this: you're asking for an unconditional surrender. What does that look like? And if you just simply listen to the words that old Whiskey Pete gave, it means we're going to...
Stand by, Jolly. Stand by. Roll it.
Let's do it.
I'm not sure it's the exact 60 Minutes clip, but
that's okay. But let's play it. And then danger, 150 service members injured, 8 dead so far. Sorry, Jolly, go on.
No, you're fine. So if that wasn't the clip I was referring to, but since we brought it up, it ties right into what I'm saying anyway. First of all, I need Pete Hexeth, if you're watching this, listen to me, lock in. If you're not Pete, scroll on. If you're Pete, pay attention. The word mitigate does not mean remove. Stop using the word mitigate to mean erase. He's saying we're going to mitigate the risk as if we're eliminating the risk. The word mitigate means there is definitely a risk there, and we're going to do our best to mitigate it, meaning we're going to minimize how risky it is to us. Mitigate and minimize are synonyms, Pete. Synonyms means two words that are similar to each other. So stop using it.
To deal with. We will try to deal with and rectify the situation, but it won't be at 100% possibly
because
rectified.
when he says, when he answers that question, we're going to mitigate it, that means you admit that it's there. So address it. See, he danced around the question. Also, thank God. I mean, just thank God that the president has a knack. Now I feel better about sending my children into combat, my neighbors into combat, the sons, daughters, and non-binary children of this country into combat, knowing that their life and liberty and limb and eyesight is resting on the knack of the president, the knack of a 79-year-old sundowning man who's got a history of poor decisions, bankruptcies, involved in the files that related to child sex trafficking. Thank God that that guy, the one who gets on the shitter at 3 o'clock in the morning on Temu Twitter, fucking rambling, the one who spends 2 hours at a speech saying nothing, that guy has a knack. And that makes me feel safer about our military in a needless war. Oh, by the way, you went to fucking war with Iran on a made-up threat, but now we have a real-life threat of Russia giving intelligence to Iran. And you're like, well, we're going to mitigate it. Don't worry. It's been mitigated. But what I was also going to bring up about that interview real quick is he asked him, what does unconditional surrender look like? And Yaposaurus Rex just danced around the topic. Oh, it means we're going to give them everything we got. It means we're going to. And they said, do you want them to surrender in person or not? And Hexeth goes, well, whether they do it or not, whether they say it or not, we'll know. We'll know when they're combat.
Jolly, that's exactly what's going to happen. They're going to say, we won because the poll numbers are going to tank. The gas prices are going to skyrocket. And perhaps the stock market will tank. And then the cost of everything is going to go up. And then the folks who are producing the oil will say, look, we don't have anywhere to store it. People aren't getting their oil. We can't just keep it stored in tankers. You know what I'm saying? So, and that is all going to happen because the reserves or the places where they store the oil, it's topped off right now. And when you stop production, it's not like a light switch that you can hit to get the oil to come back. You got to go through all kinds of things. You got to clean the equipment and unclog this. And I mean, it's going to be crazy. Jolly, I want you to stick around, but I want you to come back in a couple minutes, okay? Because we have an interview we need to get to, if you can't, because I want to continue to talk about this because I think our service members are the most important thing here. When they said they're not putting anybody in danger, that's a lie. 8 people have already died, maybe more. 150 have already been injured, maybe more. What about that when you talk about putting people in danger? We're back with Jolly, but 2 minutes, a word from our sponsor. Support comes from Shopify. Now, I want you to picture this. It's late at night. You're scrolling through your feed, and suddenly you see it, the exact product that you have been looking for. Click the link, add it to your cart, and maybe browse a little more. And when you're ready to check out, you realize that your wallet isn't even near you. Okay, and then you see it. Shopify's purple Shop Pay button. One tap, and you're done. That's the sound of another sale. Shopify powers millions of businesses around the world and about 10% of all e-commerce in the United States, from huge household brands to small creators just getting started. Right here at the Don Lemon Show, we use Shopify to bring you the merch that Lemon Nation loves, that you guys love, the lemon heads. So what I like is how simple it is that it makes everything. Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store with ready-to-use templates, AI tools that help write product descriptions and headlines, and built-in marketing tools to reach customers through email and social media. And behind the scenes, Shopify handles the complicated stuff too. Inventory, shipping, returns, even international sales. So if you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Start your $1 per month trial right now at shopify.com/lemon. That's shopify.com/lemon. The Don Lemon Show is brought to you by the Freedom from Religion Foundation. Now, you've heard me say this before, but it matters. Equality under the law only works when the government stays neutral on religion. The First Amendment wasn't written to protect one belief system. It was written to protect everyone, believers, non-believers, and people still figuring it out. Right now, that promise is under pressure from Christian nationalist movements that want their personal beliefs to dictate public policy. The Freedom from Religion Foundation is pushing back. They're defending students who are pressured into prayer at school events, families facing religious coercion in their communities, and everyday Americans who simply want government to stay out of religion. This is about protecting the Constitution and protecting the freedom of conscience that belongs to all of us, okay? If you believe freedom means freedom for everyone, this is an organization worth supporting. So visit ffrf.us/Don. That's DON. You can text Don to 511-511. Visit ffrf.us/Don or text Don, DON, to 511-511. And help defend the separation of church and state. Message and data rates may apply. And thank you so much to our sponsors. We're back now live. I want to bring in Representative Jimmy Gomez. He served California's 34th Congressional District since 2017. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. We have been discussing this war. You are a current member of Congress right now. I'm sure you get to see some of the intelligence. Have you heard anything, Congressman, that justifies this war conflict with Iran?
Not that I've seen, and I haven't seen any evidence that that backs up their claims that Iran was actively pursuing a nuclear weapon, that they were close to having the capabilities of ballistic missiles that can reach the United States. You also just saw within the first 72 hours, almost 4 days, that Donald Trump consistently shifted his rationale. Everything from regime change to supporting the protesters to nuclear weapons to even Marco Rubio saying that that we had to strike first because we had to, before Iran retaliated against an Israeli attack. It just mind-boggling how they're misleading the American people, how they've just been completely lying. I want to get these guys under oath in front of the cameras, in front of the American people, so that we can show that these folks have been lying since last year when it comes to a variety of issues and have engaged in a war of choice and are trying to disguise it as a war of necessity.
He has not ruled out boots on the ground. He has said it. Caroline Leavitt addressed it in the press conference today. Here it is.
As for boots on the ground, the president has talked about this repeatedly. Wisely, he does not rule options out as commander-in-chief. So again, I would hesitate to confirm anything that a Democrat on Capitol Hill says right now about the president's thinking.
Okay. If this war is going to be a short one, if he says it is pretty much over or it's only going to last for 4 weeks or so, then why boots on the ground? Why he hasn't ruled it out?
No, exactly, because he has no plan. He has no idea what he was doing. He has no real objective. What is the objective? Because your objective determines the course of action and the strategy and the tactics that you use. So when you have a shifting rationale or mission, then it just leads to a likelihood that this can keep going. The president that said he was going to end all foreign wars has launched more than any other president before him. And what makes it even more concerning is that he doesn't care about the cost of life. He doesn't care about the injuries that service members are going to they're going to basically have because of these attacks. He doesn't really care about what the economic costs are. So I think that this is something that we want to make sure that we tell the American people and just show the fact that he is a leader that just is in complete disregard for the lives of Americans and our economic well-being.
Sorry, Rep. Gomez. We've been having some internet issues with Dawn, so it looks like that's the case right now as well.
Yeah,
I think we can, if you don't mind, let's just give us 2 minutes. Let's hear a word from our sponsors, and then we will be right back.
Okay, perfect.
Support comes from BioOptimizers. So let me tell you about something that I am trying right now as part of my nighttime routine. I kept hearing about magnesium breakthrough from BioOptimizers, and the thing people kept saying was that this one is different. Most magnesium supplements use one or two forms of magnesium. Magnesium breakthrough combines 7 different forms plus cofactors that help your body actually absorb and use it. And I'm always honest with you. I don't recommend anything unless I'm willing to try it myself. People ask about better sleep, feeling calmer, faster workout recovery, even improved digestion. So I figured, let's see what the hype is all about. Here's what I want you to do. Try it with me. Track your sleep for a couple of weeks. Pay attention to how you feel when you wake up. See if you notice a difference in how rested you are. And this part matters. BioOptimizers offers a 365-day money-back guarantee, a full year, no questions asked. So there's really no risk. Go to biooptimizers.com/Don Lemon and use the code DON15 for 15% off any order. That's biooptimizers.com/Don Lemon with the code 15. Make 2026 the year you finally start sleeping better. This episode of the Don Lemon Show is brought to you by Graza, makers of crazy fresh olive oil. And listen, if you cook even a little bit like I do, you know, olive oil is one of those things where quality really matters. Graza makes the olive oil I keep in my own kitchen. It's fresh and it's never blended. It's made from high quality olives, and every bottle shows the harvest date. And you know it because it's right there on the bottle. You know exactly when it was made. They've got sizzle, which is perfect for everyday cooking, sauteing, roasting, and marinating. And then there's drizzle, which is a bowl finishing oil that's amazing on salads, vegetables, pasta, even just dipping bread. And then frizzle is their high heat cooking oil that's great for grilling or frying. And if you want to try something new, they've got something new too. It's Graza olive oil mayo, garlic aioli as well, rich, creamy, made with the same high quality olive oil. It's great. I host a lot of dinner parties at home, so I always keep both sizzle and drizzle on the counter. They taste incredible, and honestly, they look great sitting in the kitchen. Head over to graza.co. Use the code LEMON for 20% off of your first order. That's graza.co with the code LEMON. And next time you're at the grocery store, look for Graza mayo and aioli too. Next time you're at the grocery store, check out their aioli. Thank you so much for sticking with us. Congressman Gomez, we had connectivity issues. Sorry, it happens. I'm sure you realize that. So sorry about the internet issues, everyone. My apologies, but I don't know what's going on today. That doesn't usually happen.
You don't know who's hacking you.
I'm telling you, it's a little bit fishy.
I can say it. I can say it.
Yeah, you can, because if you go in that skiff to look at those Epstein files, you know somebody's watching you. So, Congressman, let's talk about this one more. I want to play one more of Caroline Leavitt talking about gas prices, because this is where the rubber, I believe, is going to meet the road for Americans. But the more deaths of troops, and also when prices go up.
Rest assured to the American people, the recent increase in oil and gas prices is temporary, and this operation will result in lower gas prices in the long term. Once the national security objectives of Operation Epic Fury are fully achieved, Americans will see oil and gas prices drop rapidly, potentially even lower than they were prior to the start of the operation.
So what do you think?
Well, first, I think you also, she said the objectives of Epic Fury. This is one of the things that I want people to understand. They have not clearly even stated their objectives. And then they're using, I would say, they're misleading and lying to the American people about some of the intelligence out there. So I think that's one of the things that people have to keep in mind. At the same time, we knew that when they engaged in this conflict, that gas prices were going to go up, and that they were going to not only hit you in the gas tank or at the gas station, but it's also a variety of other products. Everything from anything that takes steel, anything that takes a lot of energy to produce, those prices will go up. And that's one of the things that they're not really talking about. They're increasing the cost of living. They replace the supreme leader with his son that tends to be more hard line. They're really, if he declares victory and pulls out, all of a sudden you're not going to have the support for the Iranian people that are trying to rise up, and you're using a lot of your stockpiles and of basically the receptors, the missiles that can shoot down other missiles, then all of a sudden you're using that stockpile up for a war that has no real clear objective, and the American people were lied to.
Congressman, I know this is the issue of affordability, and that's why I brought up the prices.
Yeah.
Really important to you. And you want to talk about National Caregiving Summit next week?
Yeah, so we're one of the things that we're doing is launching a national caregiving summit to go really into the crisis of caregiving. More families now pay an average of 26% of their income towards child care. And then the sandwich generation is often taking care of a young child plus their older parent. If we want to focus on affordability, we have to talk about this. So on the 17th, we're bringing in experts and members of Congress to really focus on this issue because we shouldn't be spending billions, if not trillions of dollars in a foreign war. We should be investing it in building more affordable housing, building housing supply that's affordable so people can buy their first home, and then making it easier for people to actually raise a child or take care of their parents. But this administration has taken their eyes off the ball. They're focused more on the ego of Donald Trump, and the Republicans in Congress are just capitulating on everything that he wants.
Congressman Gomez, thank you very much, sir. Keep up the great work, all right? Sorry about the connectivity issues.
No worries.
Back now with Jolly Good Ginger. Jolly.
Amazing, Don.
Well, that's good timing.
I agree with you, Don.
Welcome back,
Everything
Jolly.
Don's saying right now, listen to what Don's saying. I agree. I'm just joking. I'm just kidding. Real quick, what I want to say about this, the rising gas prices is that literally all the Trumpers that voted for Trump use that as their excuse, right? Remember they were bitching about tax prices or gas prices and food prices and all the prices. They knew what they were voting for. They were voting for bigotry. They were voting to raid the homes of all the black and brown children and kick all the. They were voting for that, but they pretended they were voting for the economy. And now that the economy sucks, they have nothing to say about it. They just shifted overnight.
Yeah, but they're voting for the racism. They're voting for the bigotry. They're voting for the climate change denial. They're voting for the anti-vaxxers. They're really voting, but they're voting for, and you could say they're voting for the white supremacy.
Yep.
You know that.
Yes,
yeah. And so,
that's my point.
Yeah.
And this highlights. That's what I was saying. This highlights it. If right now. By the way, Don, they were also voting for no new wars. And then out of the clear blue sky, we're like, hey, we're going to attack Iran after 47 years of them doing, that's their talking points. And now they're like, hell yeah, we're going to war. I mean, what? Are you that disingenuous? Are you that malleable with your morals? Yeah, the answer is yes, they are.
Yeah. Let me ask you about this. I want to play this. This is Senator Blumenthal, and I find this very disturbing. And Senator Blumenthal is not prone to hyperbole. He went into a post briefing. Well, this is what he says post briefing. He went into a briefing, and then he came out and addressed the cameras, and here's what he said.
I emerged from this briefing as dissatisfied and angry, frankly, as I have from any past briefing in my 15 years in the Senate. I am left with more questions than answers, especially about the cost of the war. My questions have been unanswered, and I will demand answers because the American people deserve to know. And I guess I am most concerned about the threat to American lives of potentially deploying our sons and daughters on the ground in Iran. We seem to be on a path toward deploying American troops on the ground in Iran to accomplish any of the potential objectives here. And there is also, as disturbingly as anything else, the specter of active Russian aid to Iran, putting in danger American lives. Literally, Russia seems to be aiding our enemy, actively and intensively with intelligence and perhaps with other means. And China also may be assisting Iran. So the American people deserve to know much more than this administration has told them about the cost of the war, the danger to our sons and daughters in uniform, and the potential for further escalation and widening of this war, a war of choice.
So we understand it. We understand what he's saying. China and Russia, that's some serious shit. And if China and Russia are aiding, this could go on forever. There would be no end to it.
They are aiding. I'll say what he's not willing to say, which is that they are aiding. And I shouldn't say he's not willing to say it. He's not going to say it as a senator without actionable intelligence that can be released to the public. What I'm telling you is they're aiding them. And on top of them aiding in China and Russia aiding Iran, on top of that, what would traditionally be our allies, our actual strongest allies. You see, they keep screaming this talking point, Israel's our strongest ally. Israel's our strongest ally. Can we point to some historical, facts to back that up? Because when I look through history, Israel's not our strongest ally. We're theirs because we're their puppet, but they're not our strongest ally. Those who are actually our allies are distancing themselves from us. They are distancing themselves from us. But I want to say something real quick, Don. He mentioned troops on the ground, and this is something I'm very passionate about talking about right now. The idea that was presented to the American people by Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth, and their ilk is that we could go in and do this air campaign and these special unique weapons we have and these unmanned weapons we have, and we can conduct a successful operation. See, they warmed the American people up with this Venezuelan operation. I'm calling it an operation to be nice. It was actually a blatant violation of international policy and complete war crime, but whatever. They went in and they kidnapped the president of Venezuela with very little fanfare. They used a lot of advanced tech weaponry and da-da-da-da. So then when we started this thing with Iran, Hegseth and Trump tried to sell it, and Caroline Leavitt tried to sell it to the American people as an air campaign. We got no boots on the ground. It's all air. It's all unmanned. It's all ships, all this. So it seems safe for us and dangerous for them. But anybody who understands actual warfare and how it actually works. See, for those of you who've never been in the military, before you obtain the rank of colonel, when you go from lieutenant colonel to colonel, at some point in your career between those two ranks, you have to go to what's called war college. You go get a postgraduate degree, and you learn the historicity of war, tactics and techniques that have worked on the battlefield, why we use what we use and why we don't use what we use, the secondary and tertiary effects of decisions you make on the battlefield. And it's a very intense 2-year program that you must attend and obtain your graduation from war college before you can be at a rank that would be a senior battlefield commander leading a division or higher, or brigade or higher in most cases, level troops. And Pete Hegseth, having never attained that rank, having never been to war college, doesn't have this knowledge in his head. Doesn't care. The extent of his knowledge is what little bit of time he spent in the reserves and Hollywood. And so that's why the generals that are there are the ones you should be listening to, and they're not listening to them. Because if anybody had studied the historicity of war, tactics on the battlefield, and how the secondary and tertiary effects of what you do play out, they would know there's no world where you start a war with Iran and conduct a, quote, regime change or any other operation without eventually having boots on the ground. That is just the plain and simple facts of it. Anything less than that, all you've done was kick the hornet's nest and run, and that's just going to have bad fallout for America in the long run. If you actually want to complete any mission, you have to put boots on the ground. Now, what does boots on the ground look like, Don? Well, let me remind you, as a guy who's been boots on the ground in Iraq, as a guy who's been boots on the ground in Afghanistan, boots on the ground means just what it says. You are physically on the ground. And outside of the rigors of being targeted by the enemy, outside of the rigors of, being in actual firefights and fighting with the enemy. Outside of that, you're going to be inside of their terrain. And what does the terrain in Iran look like? It looks very mountainous, which American military
And
is
deserts.
partially, yes, American military is partially equipped for that, but not fully equipped. Not every soldier is equipped to handle that terrain. Also, what's happening right now in Iran? Acid rain, black rain, oil rain, because we've created an ecological disaster in Iran. Guess what happens when our troops get on the ground in Iran? They're going to be experiencing the health effects of that ecological disaster that we created. And nobody's going to care. In 10 years from now, 15 years from now, we're gonna when not they all, but when people are experiencing the health fallout of that, whatever it may be, cancer or whatever it will, it's going to be because of the carelessness by which this administration started an air campaign under the preconceived notion that they can complete any campaign in Iran with just air and naval and never put boots on the ground. And that is a fundamental lack of understanding of how warfare works, especially against a developed nation like Iran. So when you said, Don, that you believe they're going to put boots on the ground, I unfortunately agree with you. I unfortunately agree that to some level they're going to do that. What level that looks like, I don't know. But when they do, we are literally putting our soldiers into a terrain that most are ill-equipped to traverse, an ecological disaster that we created against a formidable enemy on their home territory that has advanced weapons. This is an absolute disgusting, disgraceful use, disrespectful use of our military.
A quagmire. These people have been preparing for this for a very long time, and we have not. And I used this morning when who was I on with this morning? It was, guys, I can't even remember who I was on with this morning. When we talked about what was going to happen, what happens when you send people, Rick Wilson, when you send people into, thank you, Andy, into an area, a desert, that we're not good at fighting wars in deserts. That's just not what American military troops are used to. Now, they can be trained on it, but they haven't had so far. Remember, we were pulling out of all of these forever wars. We just got out of Afghanistan. It seems like just a couple of years ago. It was just a couple of years ago. After spending 20 years there. And then how long did it take us to get out of Iraq? I mean, Afghanistan was an offshoot of Iraq, but how long did it take us to get out of there where there were no weapons of mass destruction? There's still, I mean, it's good that Saddam Hussein is gone, but he had nothing to do with 9/11, but people had it in their head that there was something to do with 9/11. And so who knows what we're going to be dealing with now? Jolly,
we know.
You have a leak.
We know, right?
Yeah, I know.
God,
I don't want to say it.
Have you ever stepped outside? I just want to have this conversation briefly. I want to humanize this moment real briefly. Have you ever stepped outside? Because I don't know if you have, so I'm asking. Have you ever stepped outside into 130-degree temperature?
Not 130, but I lived in Louisiana.
Okay.
And it gets really fucking hot.
Yeah,
hot there. It was 100. I think it was like 114 or 15.
That's actually a great point of reference. So I want you to imagine that 114, 115,
but dry, right?
Temperature. But and I get ready to say it's going to be dry. It's not going to be Louisiana humid. But you step out into this. I mean, it hits you like it's an oven. Like you know how when you first open the oven and all the heat rushes out at you. Yeah. That's what it feels like every single time you step out into the environment. Now, what I want you to do, Don, when you step out into that hot temperature that you've experienced before, I want you to put pants on. I want you to put a jacket on. I want you to put 50 to 60 pounds of gear on top of your jacket and your pants. I want you to put a helmet on. I want you to attach to your gear another 10, 20 pounds of stuff. I want you to carry a weapon. I want you to put gloves on, by the way. I want you to be overdressed and overweight for this 120, 130 plus degree environment that is a desert. And then I want you to walk. for a really long time. And if you are to come under the fire, I want you to run. I want you to take cover. I want you to return fire. I want you to do 3-second drills. I want you to survive the firefight. What people need to understand is we can train to fight in the desert all you want. But what I just explained was the reality of fighting in the desert. And I'm fighting against people who are not wearing 10, 20, 30 pounds of gear. People who, like you said, have been training for this forever. People who are accustomed to this environment. People who are going to be, I would argue, much more common sense, dressed for the environment, more adapt to the environment, more adept at fighting in this environment. Am I saying that the American military is ill-equipped to fight a war? No. We're the strongest military in the world, probably in history. I agree with all that. But I think before we put ourselves into this position, we should have taken a lot of time, preparation, and careful thinking, and consideration, and leading up to it, and know what we're getting into, and know what we're going to do. And we didn't do that. Instead, we just took soldiers. We want to whip them up real quick and toss them into the desert. And this is an absolute disaster.
Jolly, you're right. I can't even imagine. I just remember it was the summer of 2023, and I think that's one of the highest temperatures, 105. That was the recorded temperature. But during the peak, the high humidity pushed it up to 110 degrees. I can't imagine 120 or 130. That would just be unbearable for anyone. Thank you, Jolly. I love you,
for having me, Don.
You're the best.
Listen, can't wait to tell everybody the big news coming up soon.
All right, Jolly. I'm gonna say what somebody said in the comments. Did you see it? Someone said Jolly is good. Jolly is good white people.
You know, that's what I'll say. I'll say this.
There it is, Jennifer. There it is. Jolly is good white people. If you're white and you wonder what can I do, look to Jolly and Jennifer Welch.
I love Jennifer. Jennifer's the shit. Listen, I always say that all the white people are trying to get the good white people sticker. I don't want the good white people sticker. I just want to defeat white supremacy, and I wish more white people would stop worrying about the good white people sticker and just worry about what it takes to actually defeat white supremacy. But yeah. All right, Don. Thanks for having me, brother.
Take it easy. Get to your league. You got some league that you got to get.
Yeah,
to.
I got pool league. I play pool. I got pool league tonight.
Oh, pool league. All right, go enjoy.
Yeah.
See you later. Jolly good ginger, everyone. And so look, we talked about, we discussed a little bit about gas prices are now like just going through the roof. And they said it's going to be a temporary pain for long-term gain. That's what they have been saying. And they don't realize that people are one paycheck, a half a paycheck away from ruin. And so what we're doing here at the Don Lemon Show is we're trying to help people. And look, so we partnered with someone, and what we're trying to do is just to help you be able to afford your medical bills, to be able to afford your mortgages, all of that, credit cards, all of it. But we want to make sure that you're able to take care of yourself. So we have partnered with someone to help you, especially with the medical needs. And then there's also a partner we have with your financial needs. But medical needs, if you don't have your health, then you have nothing else. Have you looked at your credit card statement lately? You're working 40, 50 hours a week just to buy groceries and gas. Things you used to be able to afford. And the credit card companies are charging you over 20% interest for that privilege. Think about that. Over 20%. It's designed to keep you underwater. American Financing is doing something that they hate. They're actually helping people. They have mortgage rates in the 5s. They're showing homeowners how to take their hard-earned equity to wipe out that high interest debt. The average savings, about $800 a month. Talk to a salary-based mortgage consultant, no upfront fees, no obligation, to see how much you can save. And if you start today, you could delay 2 mortgage payments. Give American Financing a call, America's home for home loans. The number is 888-675-4090. That's 888-675-4090 or americanfinancing.net/lemon. Let me tell you something. When I was younger, in my 20s, right, and this was like in the, credit cards then were a little bit different than they are now. And I think the rates may have been lower, but now they're crazy. But anyway, I got, oh my gosh, I finally got my credit card. I got my Visa bill or whatever. I got a Visa card. And then all of a sudden you run it up and then you get charged all the interest. And my mom had to help me pay it off. And I vowed to never get in credit card debt ever. If I have a credit card every month, pay the whole thing off because you don't want that interest. So give them a shout and maybe they can help you out there. Okay, so Let's talk about some other things that are going on with this war. And we talked about the cost. We talked about all of that. But the thing is that a lot of this is a distraction from things, and a distraction from the Epstein files, a distraction from the poll numbers, which are cratering, a distraction from all the policies that he is not doing well on, which includes immigration. People are seeing their neighbors, their loved ones, their friends, their coworkers get dragged off of the street. Some of them American citizens. They don't like that. And it's not good for Donald Trump. Okay. And so what he wants to do, and if you have do you have the ProPublica thing? What he's trying to do is, and the administration, Trump officials attended a summit of election deniers who want the president to take over the midterms. So that's what's happening behind the scenes. But what's also happening behind the scenes is that they're trying to push through this SAVE Act. And Donald Trump wants to go even further than the SAVE Act is asking for. And let me tell you, this is what he's saying about it. I want you guys to pay pay close attention to what Donald Trump is saying about the midterm elections. I am warning everyone within the sound of my voice. I've been saying to you, they're going to try some shit and we're going to be up a creek without a paddle. They're going to try some shit with the elections. They're going to try to take over the elections. They will do it. If it is within their means, even if it's not, they will make something up. Listen closely. Donald Trump said the quiet part out loud.
So I'm making my biggest plea tonight. It'll make you, and I'm not doing it for this reason at all. It'll guarantee the midterms. It'll guarantee the midterms. If you don't get it, big trouble, my opinion. They're doing everything possible because they know if we get this, they probably won't win an election for 50 years, okay? And maybe longer.
Did you hear that? It will guarantee them the election. Under this bill, Trump's main legislative push ahead of the midterms, voters will have to prove U.S. citizenship and to be able to vote. And so what does that mean? If it doesn't match, what if you're a woman who's married and you go by your driver's license has your maiden name on it, and you go by maybe your voter registration has your married name, or just vice versa, or just doesn't match? Like sometimes people don't use their middle initial. They can come up with any kind of excuse. Well, where's the middle initial? It doesn't match exactly what. So most voters wouldn't be able to register to vote with the driver's license alone because licenses generally do not indicate citizenship. Instead, they would need another less common form of documentation, which would be a U.S. passport or a birth certificate. Now, for the longest, I had no idea where my birth certificate was. I was like, Mom, where's my birth certificate? She'd send me a copy, and then I was like, I don't know what I did with it. I moved. I think that was like 2 moves ago, 2 cities ago, when I was in Birmingham. I don't know where it is, and I don't know. And so to find a birth certificate, and then I was like, once, I'm telling you, this is true story. Tim, do you remember when I lost my Social Security card? I lost my Social Security card and I needed to renew my driver's license, but I couldn't renew my driver's license because I didn't have a Social Security card. So I had to take Uber everywhere until they sent me a copy of my Social Security card in the mail. And so I went for like a month without a driver's license. So you're going to have a U.S. passport or a birth certificate. Only about half of all U.S. citizens have a passport. And obtaining one just to satisfy a SAVE Act, that could be costly, it could be time consuming. And here's the thing. The voter fraud that they talk about does not exist. Every time you hear something about voter fraud, it is a Republican trying to game the system. So according to the Brennan Center for Justice, over 21 million Americans cannot readily access proof of citizenship. So for this bill to pass, its main hurdle, it's a 60 vote threshold to bypass a Democratic filibuster. By the way, well, as I'm doing this, producers, get me something on give me a fact check on voter fraud and people who are undocumented voting. It's minuscule if it even happens. Trump is pressuring Thune to help him get around this. John Thune, right? He's the minority leader or the majority leader. So look, do we have a soundbite from John Thune or them talking about it? All right, let's play it.
Do you run a risk of being on the wrong side of President Trump and your resistance to do this talking filibuster, tying the Senate in knots for weeks?
We don't have the votes either to proceed, get on a talking filibuster, nor to sustain one if we got on it. But that is just a function of math. And there isn't anything I can do about that. I mean, I understand the President's got a passion to see this issue addressed, as we all do.
Does he understand that, though?
Well, we've conveyed that to him, but we will continue to make that argument because I think it's important that everybody understand that this really is about, it's about the votes, it's about the math. And I'm for better or worse, I'm the one who has to be the clear-eyed realist about what we can achieve here. And so we'll continue to convey that. And I think that we're going to have the fight on the floor. We're going to vote on this. We're going to put it up, and we'll give the Democrats the opportunity to cast their vote on whether or not they think non-citizens ought to vote in American elections. And so that debate will happen. But like I said, I can guarantee the debate. I can guarantee a vote. I just can't guarantee an outcome.
Okay. So here's the thing. They want people who are undocumented to vote. This has been disputed again, and again in courtroom, in courts, the highest court in the land, especially as it relates to the 2020 election. There was no election fraud in the 2020 election, even though they're trying to pull some shenanigans in Arizona now and also in Georgia. So they have escalated this effort to try to get the SAVE Act, right, and talk about widespread voter fraud just in general, in the 2020 election and just in general. And it does not exist. I wanted to look for it is basically like 0.0 something percent of that there's ever been found voter fraud. And when they do, as I have been saying, it is usually a Republican. It is usually a Republican. In the past, Donald Trump has claimed, hang on, let me do this, that thousands, if not millions of undocumented immigrants voted against him in his presidential bids. Following the 2016 election, Trump claimed that between 3 million and 5 million illegal votes caused him to lose the popular vote to Hillary Clinton. And when he lost in 2020 to Joe Biden 4 years later, he alleged that Biden won in key states due to tens of thousands of non-citizens voting. None of this shit is true. It is already illegal for non-citizens to vote in federal elections. However, research and recent state investigations have shown that non-citizen registration for voting occurs only very rarely, accounting for just a sliver of registered voters and even more minuscule fraction of ballots cast. And the numbers are growing even smaller. So maybe there's 4 people who does it, and now it's like down to 2. It is all bullshit because Donald Trump and the Republicans want to make sure that they stay in power. There is no research, no evidence at all of widespread voter fraud among undocumented immigrants, or even, as they say, illegals. It just doesn't exist. And so they are looking for a problem to which there is, this is a solution to a problem that does not exist. Let's put it that way. Unbelievable. So I'm just telling you guys, keep your eyes open. Like, be woke about this. And the only way that I believe that you really can combat it is to prepare. As my friend Monique says all the time, you got to be ready. You got to make sure you know where your polling place is. You got to make sure that your identification matches. You have to make sure that you have some identification that can prove whether it is a birth certificate. I don't know if a social security card will do it. I don't think it will, or a passport. I mean, how many people, look, you people are running around, you think everybody has a passport. That's not the case. I'm sure in my own family, if I call people and say, hey, let's go to Europe, they'd be like, I don't have a passport. Because that's not something that most Americans do. They don't travel overseas. And it should be a driver's license. If you can use a driver's license as a form of ID when you're in the airport for traveling, if it is, what do they call it, the all-encompassing ID thing? I forget what it's called. Tim, do you remember? The something ID.
Real
Our producers,
ID.
if you know, the real ID. If you can get a real ID and you can go through the airport and through customs and immigration and all of that with a real ID, then why can't you use it to vote? If you can get on an airplane, why can't you use it to vote? Someone said their passport is expired. Mine was expired for a while too. I had to go rush it. By the way, thank you, Senator blah, 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 blah. This was a while ago. I was like, I had to go somewhere for the CNN, and I'm like, oh my God, my passport is expired. And then they did an expedited process. But I'm just saying, someone says they can't get a real ID. I got one during COVID. I finally got a real ID, but before, Tim didn't have a real ID. He would have to go to the airport and show his passport. And so not everyone really has the identification or the asset, so to speak.
Stand by, Lemon Nation. We'll get Don back for you.
Get back on. There I am. I'm back on. So not everyone has the identification process that they need. And so they're just trying to make it harder for people to vote. Black and brown people, minorities, and people who don't, you know what I mean? People who don't usually vote for them. That's it. Be mindful, okay? If you want to know anything about the Don Lemon Show, go to donlemon.com. At the top, you'll see the dates for D.L. Hughley and me, or me and D.L. Hughley. It's not I. If I said D.L. Hughley and I will be performing or doing a live appearance, that would be the proper grammar. But D.L. Hughley and me, or me and D.L. Hughley, that's proper grammar. So we'll be in Raleigh, North Carolina on 4/3. We'll be in Cleveland, Ohio on 4/4. We'll be in Boston, Massachusetts on 4/17. And we'll be in Tysons, Virginia on 4/18. So get your tickets now before they sell out. Also at donlemon.com, if you continue down, you can become a member on the YouTube. All you have to do is hit that watch thing. If you are already a member, consider gifting memberships to other people, and subscriptions are free. So if you go in there, you can see to join, that's a membership, and you can subscribe on the subscribe button. Okay. Very reasonable memberships. You pay cheaper for coffee or a cookie or your cinnamon bun in the morning. And if you're like me, you could skip the cinnamon bun. I'm just saying, I got to watch it. Okay. And so go back out to donlemon.com, and I want to show off some of our other places where you can watch us. And so today we did a great Substack show. Substackers, if you're there, Lemonheads and Substack, did you love the show? It was all Q&A. You guys got to hear some really personal stuff about me. You were asking me about what's going on in my life, how Tim and I are doing, especially after the arrest, all those things. And it was just a really great conversation that I had with the viewers. Yeah, I loved it today. It was really good. And so that's going to happen every week on Tuesday at 12:30, right, Nikki? And then our Substack Lemonheads will be Thursday at 3:30, Nikki.
Those are our
Correct.
Twitch Lemonheads will be on Thursday.
Our Twitch. Thursday at 3:00. And so it'll be Q&A. I don't know. You never know what you're going to, maybe I'll be cooking lunch. I might be at the gym. Tim is like, when you go, if you go. Who knows what I could be doing? I could be trying to get, my passport updated. Who knows? And then I'll just answer some questions and we'll talk, and it'll be a great time. Okay. And then also our merch store is there. Go on to the Substack and the Twitch, and you guys sign up. Subscriptions are free. But these are only for the paid members, right? On both of these platforms. Is that correct? Yes, no, Nikki?
For Substack, yes, it is for our paid subscribers only. And on Twitch, it will just be for our followers.
Okay, amazing. All right, so defend the First Amendment. Thank you very much. Look, if you go into donlemon.com, you can click on merch, and you will see that we have some T-shirts and some merch that helps to protect journalists and the First Amendment, the freedom of the press. So there are T-shirts there, and there's a sticker there, but we will not be silenced, okay? And that is, we stand with independent journalism. So go there. Every bit of it goes to the Committee to Protect Journalists, okay, if you want to help in these times. So thank you, everyone, for that. And welcome to our new members. Let's see. Welcome to the Lemon Nation Fly Girl Monday. Welcome to the Lemon Nation Bulldog. Bulldog. Welcome to the Lemon Nation, and to all of our new members, we appreciate you joining us. Welcome to T. Rob. Appreciate you. Susan Malone. Welcome to the Lemon Nation. Okay, be informed without being inundated. Until I see you, I love this community so much. We had the best show yesterday with our legends. It was yesterday, legends, right? I get my days mixed. Yeah, today's Tuesday. With our legends, it was fantastic. Love you guys. One of our legends is we found out one of our legends is 7 months pregnant in the chat, and now everyone wants to come and throw her a baby shower. Huh? Oh, baby clothes. Yeah, everyone is going on the site and they're getting the baby, the onesie. We have some onesies on the merch at the merch store. So thank you for joining us, everyone. I appreciate it. Until I see you back here tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern time here on the Don Lemon Show. Welcome to the
What a time to freeze. I'm just going to go ahead. I'm just going to go ahead and say, turn the TV off.
Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a show. We're live every weekday at 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern time with new clips dropping at 2 p. and 8 p. And if you want even more Don Lemon Show content, join the Lemon community. Members get exclusive posts, behind-the-scenes videos, and live chats just for you. So hit the join button or visit our channel page to sign up. Thanks again for all your love and your support, and I'll see you next time.